Okay. Um, Hello, everyone. For my project for 212, I wanted to look at how airports have fared during the COVID-19 global pandemic. And so I got a data set from Kaggle, and this data set shows the airport, the latitude and longitude of that airport, and then the percent of traffic going through that airport since COVID has hit compared to a baseline period. The baseline period, I believe, was recorded pre-COVID. It was about a month, and they just averaged what that baseline would be per airport. And from there, every single day, they've been collecting data on the traffic through the airport and have calculated a percentage by day of what that baseline or of what that traffic by that day looks like compared to the baseline. And so this first graphic here is just a heat map of what each of those or what each of those percentages looks like. And so the airport that's been hardest hit by COVID so far is Nevada, is Las Vegas, the McCarran International Airport. It's only operating since lockdowns began to today at about 36.78% of what it used to be. And we could likely attribute that to just a lack of tourism. There's not many people coming in and out of Las Vegas if they're not going to the Strip or to Vegas in itself. So since a lot of that has been shut down, that is probably a very large reason as to why that's happened. And the airport that has been least impacted is actually Honolulu Airport in Hawaii. And you would think that that would be pretty heavily impacted, but especially with the restrictions that Hawaii's put in with everything going on with COVID. But actually, if you think about it, maybe people are thinking, well, Hawaii might be a more COVID safe option in terms of travel and being able to stay socially distant on a beach or something like that, compared to Vegas being very close quarters with other people. Just a couple of assumptions there, but yeah, that's generally what it looks like. And if you look at just a few of the Canadian airports up here, most of them actually haven't been impacted nearly as bad as some of the other airports in the US. So then another graphic that I created here is just an animation of how they've fared by week since the lockdowns began. So let's just play that here. As you can see, right immediately, everything goes blue. All the airports start to see slows from there. And then as time goes on, you see how they kind of fluctuate in and out of higher traffic and lower traffic. And you can see how some of them kind of fluctuate together, which seems to make sense because of how you need two airports, you need a from and a to, and so if one airport has higher traffic, other airports are going to have to make up for that. So you can see why certain fluctuations in airport traffic kind of correlate to each other. And then just one final graphic here. I took the three typically highest trafficked airports in the US, which are Atlanta at number one, Chicago O'Hare at number two, and LAX at number three. Those are typically the three busiest airports in the US. And I looked at those and created a little line graph of how those have performed in terms of their baseline over time. And so if you look here, you see a pretty quick dip immediately with all three of them falling almost to about 55 to 65% of their baseline. And then as time goes on, they seem to fluctuate a little bit. Right there is around May 24th. It's pretty interesting because you can see that they all dip at different rates, but they all dip at the same time in that same week, which kind of shows that how airports generally kind of react to trends similarly together. Yeah, and then as you can see, they kind of just continue to fluctuate around there. But a very important point here is that Atlanta, which is the busiest airport, or typically regarded as the busiest airport in the US, stays at the lowest percent of their baseline throughout the entire time. And this data goes all the way to October 15th, and it gets updated regularly. So yeah, just a couple, few graphics there on how airports have fared during the COVID-19 crisis. And then just a couple key takeaways are that, clearly they never get to or above 100% of their baseline. So pretty much any airport that this data set is tracking is pretty much showing that every single airport is down in terms of traffic compared to pre-COVID baselines. And so the highest they get is about 93% in a day, which is the max there, but that's still not even to what the average was before. And it's, though it is improving, these fluctuations kind of show that there's still a long way to go. Clearly, things fell pretty fast at first, and since then they've kind of been moving up and down. And lastly, with more and more restrictions coming as numbers continue to rise, I'm sure airports will have decreased traffic, and airlines in general as well will have decreased traffic to deal with as more restrictions, especially in the Bay Area and in California, come in and really impact travel. So yeah, that's just about all I have. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.